It's the Mustang Insider Show presented by Cal Portland, the largest building materials company of cement and construction material products on the West Coast. Now, here's Chris Sylvester, the voice of the Mustangs.
All right, welcome to another edition of the Mustang Insider presented by Cal Portland. And I'd imagine that at Cal Poly in this spring season, they've needed to build some extra trophy cases. I mean, the spring sports are just racking up championship after championship. I think it's 4 in total now when you look at what women's golf was able to accomplish representing the Big West in the NCAA regional round. Men's tennis captured a Big West regular season championship. Can't forget about beach volleyball, their fantastic run, winning the conference tournament and then winning a match in the NCAA tournament round against Stanford a couple of weeks ago. And most recently, Cal Poly women's track and field, they captured their first Big West championship in program history. Pleased to be joined by the longtime cross country and track and field head coach, the director of cross country and track and field. I think that's the official term. Mark Conover is with us. Coach, congratulations on this women's track and field championship. You've had so much success in cross country. You've had a lot of success with the men in track and field, but what did this mean to you, your program, and most importantly, your student athletes accomplishing this feat last weekend?
Well, and that is most importantly, what it means to the student athletes who've had to endure throughout COVID and protocols. And, we weren't even sure if we were going to have a season. Even in February, things were up in the air, and then we didn't know what kind of format the season would take. And, we were proactive in, trying to set up some meets, and that worked very well. But so throughout, we were able to actually have a very full season. And again, I think it was great to have it culminate the way it did at UC Irvine with the women winning, and the men were a very close second. The men came down to the 4x400 relay at the last event. So all around, just fantastic performances. And it is great for the program because we had yet to win a Big West Conference track and field championship. And so, for this to be the first one, and, to do it under the year and times we've had been having, with COVID and all the protocols, it just, again, speaks volumes to the grit, determination, resiliency that these student athletes displayed. And a big thank you to our athletic administration and, our sports medicine staff, and, everybody has had to pitch in enormously to make, like, as you just mentioned earlier, our seasons happen. And then, winning Big West championships is certainly icing on the cake. And so, a lot went into it, always does. But, this year, obviously, with everything that's been taking place for every human being, in being tested by COVID and being safe and adhering to protocols so that we can make competitions happen for the student athletes. So really, it takes a village, and, hats off to, to everybody involved. And certainly, the end result this past weekend, to see overjoyed student athletes is a tremendous honor to be associated with it. And, I'm just proud not only of them, but, our coaching staff done such a great job with, going through the COVID season and working so well with all of our student athletes. And so, I can't say enough about the great hard work that was done by a lot of people to make this championship happen.
Yeah, no question about it. The women's team winning their first conference championship. The men's team, as you mentioned, a very close second to Cal State Fullerton in the track and field conference championships. 4 individuals won titles. And the women, Coach, the highest score in a Big West track and field conference championship since 2015 with 181.5 points. So certainly a great performance from them. We have the NCAA West prelim round. We kind of got a better idea of what that might look like earlier today. That's going to be May 26th through the 29th. You're going to send 9 student athletes between the men and the women over there to College Station on the campus of Texas A&M. We're going to dive into that in just a moment. But I want to talk a little bit about these student athletes individually. And you mentioned how irregular of a year it's been in so many ways. I think for the spring sport athletes, especially, because when you really think about it, it's been almost 2 full years since they were able to complete a season. So what you guys have done and what the other spring sports have done on Cal Poly's campus, these championships are a little extra special considering the circumstances that these student athletes and, as you mentioned, the coaches have been under for the last year plus. How about in the hurdle final? You had a photo finish involving Molly Ross, a senior from Reading. After a review, she was named a co-champions for the hurdle final. Can you recall something like that ever happening at a Big West Championship event involving one of your student athletes?
No, and quite honestly, what has to happen there is in photo finishes, the tie break is usually broken when it gets down to the thousandth of a second, and so Molly and the co-champion, the tie was to the thousandth of a second. That's how that was determined. And I know, to be quite honest, I've never seen that in any track and field competition, to be quite honest. So, but hats off to those two who get to share in the title, and you can't argue with the photo review and the actual time down to 1,000th. So that's very rare.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of sports. You never know when you're going to see something for the first time. I mean, heck, you've been doing this here for more than 2 decades, and that's the first time you saw something like that. So pretty unique there with the co-champions photo finish after review. They said, we can't determine a winner. We got to give it to both of them. How about the 400-meter championship? That was won by one of your young studs, true freshman Anissa Rind. She's from Orange County. I mean, what a leap for her. She was just in high school this time last year. How impressive was she here this spring for you guys?
Well, very impressive. And, people need to understand that in a championship meet, you're asking a lot of your student athletes in terms of perhaps doubling or even tripling up in events, and we saw an opportunity to put 4 people into the 400-meter final, which we knew would bring in a lot of points, and that all came to fruition. But there was a lot of stories in that 400 final, along with Anissa, because Cassidy Hubert also was in the 800 final and had to run prelims in that event. And, Juliana Rutolo was our heptathlon champion the week before, and then came back last weekend and to place second in the high jump. Got a big third in that 400 final, ran on a couple of relays, and for Anissa to come out as a freshman and lead them across the line, what a total team effort. And then, obviously coming back to help on the relay. And the future bodes well there. And that was just we also had another point in that race from Belle Aduaka back in 7th. So, we garnered a lot of points in that event with Anissa leading the charge.
Mark Conover is with us. We're talking Cal Poly men's and women's track and field. The women, Big West champions for the first time in program history, 181.5 points, highest score that the Big West has seen in a championship event since 2015. I want to shift gears and talk about the men because, as you mentioned, a valiant effort from them. They came up just short, finished in 2nd place. You had a historic performance from Justin Robeson. He's a redshirt junior in the 1500 meters. He finished in 3:44.68. That's the 8th best in program history at Cal Poly. What was it about his performance on that day that was able to make him, a winner on that day? And what has he meant to your program? This is his 4th year with you.
Yes, well, Justin, hats off to Justin, because he has persevered through injuries and has just been very diligent when it comes to his rehab and doing all that was needed to get back to a level that he knew that he was capable of racing at. And so throughout those trials and tribulations, he came out of it all stronger, and really has emerged as a great leader, and really just epitomizes again that grit and determination. And so he ended up running with a lot of confidence this season. And earlier in the season he ran our number 2 all-time mark for Cal Poly history in the 5,000 meters in 13:46. And so that's a very legit time also, along with his 1500 at 3:44. And so he really helped catapult the men at a time of the meet when we needed to start having some great performances in order to get back into the team race. Because going into that final day, we were behind by a bit, and I think we were in 3rd overall. Then we got down to 4th overall early in the meet. And then that 1500 that Justin won, we also had great performances by Elias Opsahl, who got 3rd in a big personal best, and that's an all-conference mark. And then Anthony Benitez right behind him, in 4th. So Justin led the way with a big point haul in that event, and really you started to sort of see, the momentum for the men really shifting at that time, and points started coming in the shot put and the discus and other areas. And so then it really, the meet really became the nail biter that it was for the men also. And a lot was being asked of Justin to come back and double a couple hours later, 2.5 to 3 hours later in the men's 5,000 meters, which this year in our conference was loaded. Some really good runners, and he ran great and got 2nd in that, and to add more points to the total and lead that 5,000 meter group to a good point total haul that really solidified our second and battle for first as we headed into the final event, that 4x4 relay.
Yeah, Elias Opsahl, he was named to the All Big West team. You mentioned his performance last weekend. Chiname Allison, a senior out of Clovis, he took 2nd in the men's 100-meter dash. He earned all conference honors as well. So despite finishing in 2nd place, you are going to have some student athletes from the men's track and field team representing Cal Poly in the NCAA West prelim round in College Station, Texas, in a couple of weeks. It's time to pack your bags, Coach, for Texas A&M. What do you know about the track and field setup down there at College Station? And is this somewhere where you guys have competed before, or is this a program first for the Cal Poly Mustangs?
Yeah, this is the first time the NCAA West preliminary round, as it's formally called, has been held at College Station and at Texas A&M. We've been to University of Texas many times for this competition, but this is the first time it's being held at Texas A&M, and they have a very solid traditional track and field program, and I'm sure they're going to do a bang-up job in hosting the event. And but as far as anybody going there for this first round of NCAA competition, it's a first, because it's the first time they've hosted.
May 26th through the 29th, you can catch all the action on the SEC network on ESPN+. Mark Conover is with us here on the Mustang Insider, presented by Cal Portland. Last but not least, and if fans are watching this and wondering, when are they going to bring up Brooke Cheryl? Well, we're going to do it now. Brooke Cheryl, I mean, she's just been nothing short of spectacular. Am I right, Coach? I mean, she broke the Big West Championship meet record, which had stood for 22 years this past weekend. She is the reigning Mechanics Bank Student Athlete of the Week. I feel like she's garnered that honor every other week the last couple of months since you guys got going with the track and field season. I'm scrolling on Twitter every Monday, and I'm seeing Brooke Cheryl is again the Big West Track and Field Athlete of the Week. In fact, she will soon be named Big West Field Athlete of the Year. Who knows what her future might look like? She's a fourth-year junior. She's on pace to graduate here this summer, but what can you say about her career at Cal Poly and what her expectations are when she goes on May 27th at Texas A&M?
Right. Well, when you speak about Brooke, just a consummate student athlete, great student, and just, the model of consistency, I think, in how she goes about her business and her daily routine and her time management skills. And that's all led to just, again, consistent performances in the pole vault. And, with that is school record, conference record, 14-foot competitor. And so she'll take a lot of confidence from that type of consistency into the West Prelim and College Station. And, she'll just go be Brooke, and has a nice, even keel demeanor about her, which I think is very important to all student athletes. And so, we will certainly, wish Brooke continued consistency and success for sure.
Yeah, it seems to be a pretty good name or start to a name to have on campus this year. You got Brooke Cheryl doing everything she's done with the women's track and field team and pole vaulting. I mean, she's just been spectacular, as we mentioned. You got Brooks Lee on the baseball team. He's hitting the ball like crazy as well.
Yeah.
So it's a good name to have. I know that it's Brooke and Brooks, but it's pretty close. And it's proved dividends for both of those programs here this spring. I'm taking a look at some of the weather for College Station, Texas, when you guys head there next week. Right now, they're having thunderstorms for the next 4 or 5 days, but it looks like things are going to clear up. It's going to be warm, though. Temperatures in the mid to upper 80s. Is there any different type of preparation for that compared to the weather conditions that you guys have been performing in this spring in California?
Well, fortunately, they run the distance races at night. So, for example, Jake Ritter's going to run the 10,000 meters next Wednesday, and that'll be at 9:10 p.m. and should be cooled off by then. And Justin's going to run a 5,000 meter race on Friday night about the same time. And then, others compete during the day where they're out there, whether it's Emily Hallett in the hammer throw, or Will Smith in the discus, or Dane Clemenson in the javelin, or Juliana Rutolo in the high jump, and Brooke and Kayla Myers in the pole vault. We will do things that will for them to stay cool, stay under the shade, under the tent. There'll be water out there, but we've all seen it even more hot and humid than 80s, in Texas, and we've had years at this meet when they were at Austin, where the meet gets delayed because the thunder showers and the lightning, NCAA lightning rule, delay the meet and delay it and delay it and delay it. And sometimes they've had to postpone events till the next day. So, you just got to be prepared for anything. But, our student athletes will be well prepared, and our sports medicine staff will be there, our athletic trainer, and to assist them with their needs in order to recover and then to be smart and stay hydrated and deal with whatever conditions come along.
All right, Coach. Well, like you said, it takes a village. Congratulations on the Women's Track and Field Championship, first in program history here in 2021, and safe travels to College Station. We look forward to catching up again soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, that was Mark Conover, the director of track and field and cross country at Cal Poly. Again, they are headed to College Station, the NCAA West prelim round, May 26th through 29th. You can catch those broadcasts on ESPN Plus. The SEC network will be providing the feed. So until next time, you've been watching another edition of the Cal Poly Mustang Insider, presented by Cal Portland from Learfield IMG College.
This has been the Mustang Insider Show presented by Cal Portland, with a commitment to environmental leadership that has made the organization stronger and is the primary choice of contractors. The Mustang Insider Show. The preceding has been a Learfield IMG College presentation of the Cal Poly Sports Network.